Assalamu Interpal. I hope each and every one of you are having a wonderful, beautiful Sunday, well, morning, afternoon, evening, coming to the evening now. And I would like to say a big jazakumullah khair to everybody listening. Okay, whether you're listening from the local areas in the United Kingdom or listening, alhamdulillah, from abroad also. We do have, alhamdulillah, many listeners who also listen abroad as well as in our local areas. Brothers and sisters, we have a very, very good lineup for everybody today. We will be having right now Sheikh Abdullah Hodson calling in right now, inshallah, very, very shortly. And also, sorry, I will be calling him. Then at 5 o'clock, it will be the Quran show with Qari Ilyas. There is going to be young Usain. Now, this show will be all aimed towards the children. And it will be giving you tips on how to be reciting the Quran with the Tajweed, etc. And also, we're encouraging parents tell the children and encourage children to call in, the youth also to call in and take part in the show and be, like the two children who will be on the program. Also, we would like if somebody can call in on 01924472776 and be part of the show at that time as well. Then 6 p.m. part 3 of Sheikh Tehseen in English and Urdu lecture. Okay, the importance of hadith, etc. It's going very, very well. Part 3, don't miss it. 6 p.m. Then 7 p.m. we will be having the recipe show with Mr. Kabir. 8 p.m. we're going to be doing the call-in for all ages and enter for the £100 cash prize as well. 9 p.m. again, Mr. Al Mubarak, myself, and if Mr. Safraz Bhai is also here, 8 p.m., 9 p.m. will be Mr. Safraz Lahe, and also will be myself to conclude tonight as well. Right, okay, let's get right. Jazakallah to the person who just sent me a message to all my contacts. May Allah bless you and reward you. Jazakumullah khair, and of course, Jazakumullah khair to you guys as well for listening and supporting Al Mubarak Radio. Everybody else who's sending in the message. But right now, I've got to go on to the call. So I will be back taking all your messages. Keep sending your text messages, WhatsApp messages on 078668476 and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of us. And inshallah, our intention is we start today's program with the intention that we are, inshallah, doing it for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are listening also to learn for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. So this is our intention. And let's start the program with Sheikh Abdullah Hodson. Inshallah, and hopefully let's start the program. Let's see if Sheikh Abdullah is available for the call. Okay, just the phone is ringing, and وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. كيف الحال يا شيخ عبد الله حدسن؟ الحمد لله بخير. ما شاء الله. Lovely to hear your voice again on this very cold Sunday afternoon, or say Sunday evening. Oh, it's absolutely freezing over here. It's very, very cold. Mashallah, up north, I'm sure you can just imagine. I don't know what's the weather like where you are.
It's far milder down here in London, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being kind to us at the moment.
Mashallah. Mashallah. So, Jazakallah. So send a bit of it this way as well.
Okay, we'll make dua for you, inshallah.
Inshallah.
But I'm sure that you're getting yourself ready for a bracing, biting program with Mubarak Radio over the winter.
Yes,
we were talking earlier about the the program that we're hoping to do, inshallah, in Bolton on the 3rd of January as well.
Yeah, 3rd of January, Masjid Zakaria, Sheikh Abdullah Hudson, also Dr. Hamza Al Mubarak will be reciting Nasheed, and also for the Quran.
Yes.
If you can please introduce the person who will be reciting the Quran.
Well, that is still to be confirmed, but we'll confirm that inshallah next week.
Inshallah. Jazakumullah khair.
We
Inshallah.
hope to have another blind student who's a Hafiz with us, inshallah.
Inshallah. Sheikh Abdullah, today time is very, very limited. So,
Yeah.
if you can please start your part of the program. Bismillah.
Okay, well, what we all trying to discuss today is the fact that as we have been on this series of talks, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, which of the signs of your Lord will he deny? Because so many signs Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he has made and he has provided for us, that we may grow in our iman, which is what we need more than anything else, because this is what lets us down. This is the thing that's coming as a barrier between us and amal, which will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the fact that we're not prepared to make sacrifices. Why? Because we have we're not prepared to make sacrifices. Why? Because of the fact that we are forgetting who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. So what we need to do is remind ourselves by the signs in the Quran, like I was talking about last week. Now I'll talk about the signs in our hadith as well. Now, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's made many comments and many prophecies also. Now let's start off of one of these that is also in the Quran, because there's a link. I'll link last week's topic of the Quran with this week's topic of the miracles in the hadith, because one of them appears in the Quran itself, in Surah Shu'ara, in ayats 131 to 135. This is the 26th surah of the Quran. This is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers back to the people of Ad, these huge men who were the size of palm tree trunks, and mighty men they were, and they were quite extraordinary in their power. But as we see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he reduced them to nothing at all. Now, in the 5 ayats that I have referred to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that all the mercies which he has given to them, and he's referring to the he said he's given to you from the things that you know, and he's given to you also from rivers and gardens and springs, and all of these things he's given to you. And he says, and I fear for you I fear for you the torment of a terrible day, i.e. the day of Qiyamah. So he's referring, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that this land of Ad, the people of Ad, which used to be on the Jaziratul Arab, the Arabian Peninsula, this was in fact green pastures and gardens and rivers. Now, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's hadith corresponds exactly with this as well, and it says that lam takuna as-sa'atu, the hour will not come, the hour of the day of Qiyamah will not come, hatta ta'udu Jaziratul Arabi jannatun wa anharun. So this is saying that until the Arabian Peninsula returns as it used to be, to being gardens and pastures, etc., and anhar, rivers as well. Now, we never used to know that rivers used to flow through this area, but now it's been recently discovered that up to about 5,000 years ago, 11,000 to 5,000 years ago, is the last time there used to be some rivers. The Kuwaiti River is what they're calling it, which is a river bed which they've discovered now with satellite photos. And the Endeavour mission, in 1994, was something which was a NASA mission, which was discovered by Dr. Farouk El-Baz. he discovered that there was, in fact, a river bed, and they can trace with the photos they took below the surface of the earth, below the surface of the sand, which is how they managed to see that there was, in fact, a riverbed flowing for about 850 kilometers from the Hijaz Mountains in West Saudi Arabia up until feeding into the northeast of Saudi Arabia, where it would have met the Tigris or gone into the Persian Gulf. So we see that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's words were borne out by this. And not only this, but we're seeing that he says it will return before the day of Qiyamah, it will return to being fresh, lush vegetation. And now we're seeing, as being noted in Faraz Umar's article in 2013, he wrote in 2010, March 2010, where he notes that on the way into Mecca for miles and miles, there it can be seen vegetation and grass. So this is not something, he says, that is artificial, but it is something which is actually natural, and it's naturally happening. So there are many explanations that scientists are giving as to how this thing that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is prophesying could happen. Maybe it will be climate change, maybe some other events will happen. But but from what we can see, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's prediction is coming is coming true already. Now let me give you another miracle from a hadith, and this is that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he was once approached by Abdullah bin Salam, and he was this man who was described as by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as being the best of all the Jews, and he came to him asking him three questions. What is and these three questions were to find out whether Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was in fact a prophet of Allah or not, because Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would never be able to know the information from these questions unless he was a prophet of Allah. Now the final question was pertaining to our topic, which is miracles in the hadith, because Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was asked what defines whether a baby turns out to be more resembling the father or the mother. And he said, well, Jibreel alayhi salam told me the answer to your questions earlier. And what defines whether the baby looks like the mother or more like the father is whether the man's liquid came first or the woman's liquid came first. If it's the man's liquid, then he will look more like his child, and if it's the woman's, then she will look more like the child. And now we can find out with modern technology and modern medicine and science that this is exactly true, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was right in what he said. So subhanAllah, these are things which should lead us to have more yaqeen, more conviction in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's words and in the deen of Islam. Next, we read from Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that Isa alayhi salam, when he descends, he will descend to the white minarets of Damascus. The white minarets of Damascus is thought to refer to Masjid al-Amawi. And what's amazing in this is, as is described by Ibn Kathir, that all those years ago, firstly, in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's time, there was not even any minarets, because it was still in the hands of the fire worshippers, the Zoroastrians of Persia at that time, the Mushrikeen. So there weren't any minarets at all. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is prophesying that they will take over that area, which they did. But for hundreds of years after that, the minarets were not white. Was it now of course they are. Now, was it the Muslims that painted them white and made it a self-fulfilling prophecy? They read it in the hadith that Isa alayhi salam would descend by the white minarets, so they thought we'd better paint them white and make the event come closer. No, in fact, it was the Christians that painted it white, that restored these minarets, and they paid for these minarets to be painted white. So this was from the side of the Nasara, of the Christians. and they by doing this, they fulfilled Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's prophecy, or we can see that soon it will come true. Now, next we look at some of the prophecies of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam which have only just come true, and we could look at many of these, and we could even go on to a series of talks which would be about the signs of the end of times, both major signs and minor signs. Almost all of these have been proven true now, especially, all the minor signs basically have become true now. Let me give one example. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says that when zina becomes a zahir, when it becomes apparent, now of course it's always been there and it's always been on the increase, but what's interesting here is that it is becoming apparent, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says. And we can see that in our society, especially in the last 50 years, it's become apparent everywhere you look. Nudity is on the increase. Now, as for the effect that this takes, he says that when this happens, then such diseases will be seen amongst the people that had never been there before. Now, whether you believe AIDS and HIV, etc., the sexually transmitted diseases were generated in a lab, as many articles, even in the Western press, have been made to say so. There was one in the New York Times, for instance, in 1972, and many others can be stated. It's taken to be generally very accepted fact. But either way, it is stated that that these diseases have come about essentially in the last 50 years or so. So they are new things, they're new diseases, these sexually transmitted diseases, at the same time as all of this nudity has become rampant in our societies. So this is totally corresponding with the words of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam when he made these predictions. Okay, so these are a few of these miracles from Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but this does not do justice to the topic. Let us look more at the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's lifestyle, because his lifestyle is miraculous in itself, because everything from it is positive. Everything you do, I can tell you once at one point when I started to pray myself about, I came into Islam about 12 years ago, so sometime after that, I was learning the postures of Salah, and I was looking at how you'd have to bow down in ruku and everything, and my understanding would be that this would hurt my back, for instance, and you can look at all the other postures as well. And I was saying to myself, well, it better be worth it. You better have Jannah for doing this if you're harming your body. What I didn't know at the time was that, in fact, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's Sunnah, the way that you perform your Salah, the way you do everything, in fact, helps the person and gives the person better health. Now, let me give you an example of this. In the Sunnah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is to do what we can call circumcision. Now, this is something which is beneficial medically, undoubtedly, and it will help. It will. Let me give a few examples. It will save a person from urinary tract infections, and it will save a person from, especially the man. It will save them from the private part getting cancer, and also the woman who he's married to as well, getting the cancer. And this will it will have the benefit of keeping the person away from balanitis, which is inflammation of the glands, and other similarly linked diseases which are inflammation of the glands and the foreskin. And we can go on and say many of these other beneficial, thermosis is another disease which you'll be saved from. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he has given us this sunnah. In fact, it will keep us, we're doing it so that our salah will be valid, be clean, and we're doing it for the thawab of following Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So we're not doing it really just to gain the medical benefits. The medical benefits are just something there as a bonus. But it's interesting to see that if we do something which is in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's sunnah, we get all these benefits. Now, Now let's look at something like cupping as well. Now cupping, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said that he says in Muslim, it's narrated in Muslim, there is a benefit in this. It's narrated in Bukhari that the most powerful remedy for sicknesses is in cupping, hijama. And in Bukhari and Muslim, so Muttafaqun alayh, it says that the most beneficial procedure for taking out illnesses and saving yourself from illnesses and diseases is hijama. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in other hadith, it's narrated that he used to have, for the sake of detoxification, he would have his, between his shoulder blades, he would be cupped, and for migraines, he would have his forehead cupped, and other hadith say his neck, and many other places on the soles of his feet as well. And we know the pressure points; these all correspond with the pressure points that science is now telling us about. And cupping, if we look at the words of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he says it saves us from all these diseases. Now we can find that this is exactly true. It saves us from hypertension. It saves us from cancer. It saves us from circulatory diseases, and it saves a person from, as I said, hypertension. And the person will also get the benefit of energy in the blood flow. So you'll have increased energy flow in the blood, and it will save a person from contracting diseases in the first place. And now science finds that if we get cupped, if we do hijama, then a person will get even more quickly recovered. They will recover even more quickly from the disease that they're suffering from. So all of these are benefits, and detoxification is probably the most beneficial thing out of all of them. Breathing and lung-related illnesses and sicknesses, this can be cured by hijama as well. One thing that medical science won't tell us is that magic, which is something we believe in as Muslims, sihr, and the evil eye and the jinn, this can be cured. One of the most profound ways of curing this is by doing hijama, and at least every 3 months, or certainly every 6 months, to do this is very, very beneficial. It's a fairly cheap and a very comprehensive way of saving ourselves from all these diseases. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam Sunnah, as I repeat, this is the reason why I am mentioning all of this. It coincides with the medical findings today. So that is hijama, the process of taking out blood. And many other societies, like Chinese society, they used to have this in the past, but they didn't do it in the comprehensive way and in the proper way that we do it. Also, some doctors like to, or we shouldn't say doctors, some specialists who do cupping, they do dry cupping. But the Sunnah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and medically the best one, is to do the wet cupping, and this will have the more thawab, which is what we're really looking for. The way that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam ate and drank, this is an amazing thing. He would used to drink sitting down, and now we find that the GIT, the gut, becomes distended. It becomes extended. Why? Because it becomes more elastic when you drink standing up. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, what did he say? If a person knew what they'd drunk, when they drink standing up, then they would vomit it out. In fact, he recommends when a person drinks forgetfully even, that the person should vomit that drink out. So this is how harmful it is to the body. And now we're finding exactly this, that even like joint pain, it gets more joint fluid builds up, which is harmful in the joints when a person does this drinking standing up. So that's amazing. And nobody could have ever prophesied it. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never could have known this without being inspired by Allah Ta'ala to do this act of drinking sitting down rather than standing up. And of course this goes for eating food as well. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he would once, on one occasion, he did it to show that it's permissible but of course we know it to be makruh. And also, we know that arthritis can be caused by this, by drinking while standing up, and also the kidneys can amass more waste fluid, and the kidneys become less. The filtration by the kidneys can become less effective when you're drinking while standing up. So all of these things, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's words point towards precisely. Whilst we're on the topic of eating and drinking, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he would always eat with his fingers. Now, this is something which would be peculiar if you sat down in a restaurant now and you eat with your fingers. People would look at you in a very funny way. But this is something which is extremely beneficial, and one of the reasons for this is because there are special enzymes even found in the ends of the fingertips which start to digest the food, or start having a digesting effect upon the food even before the person has begun to eat, put the food in. And also the person when they touch the food, this has a psychological effect. This is thought by many, Allahu A'lam, but it is thought by many that the touching of the food with the fingers, you get an idea of the texture of the food that's about to go into your mouth. You get an idea of the temperature of the food, so your mouth doesn't become shocked by it when you enter the food into the mouth. It's far better, therefore, than putting the food in, putting a metallic cutlery into the mouth. And also, we can derive that you're paying more attention to the food, and certain medical findings have found that when a person is paying more attention to the food that they're eating, that they eat less, which is something we could all do with. A person who, in one particular study, and this was featured in The Guardian in 2013, in June 2013, that it was found that people that ate whilst they were doing something else, whilst they were, I believe the study was showing TV, they would eat 70% more than the person who was not. We should all seek health, be following Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's sunnah, but we should do it more so for the thawab. One final thing is that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he would have certain foods which he loved. Now, one example of this would be like dates. So when a person eats dates, they have a very high intake of fiber, and we can mention many other benefits. It's the best in terms of sugar water. When somebody becomes shocked, they have a need for sugar water, and the best sugar water is dates. Or now that's why the person, at the time when the child is born, they chew up the dates into a paste, and they make that paste, they rub it on the inside of the baby's mouth. And the reason for this is the baby, from the shock of coming out of the womb, and of course the shock, as we believe as Muslims, of being stabbed by the shaitan, because every single human being is, all of us are, that shock will be diluted, will be neutralized by the fact that the father has chewed up that paste, that date, and done ta'liq. And also, we spend so much on all these Powerade and Energade and Glucosaid and all these other energy drinks. But the best of all drinks, we're just paying for the E numbers, we're just paying for the brand label. What's in fact better than all of these is nabidh, which is you soak the dates in water for a few hours, keep on turning the container over, it's better, so it soaks in better. If you drink that, that's the best energy drink you can take before you do your athletics or football or whatever. So this is to show that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he loved dates. It was one of the best foods. It's even mentioned in the Quran. Allah Ta'ala gives an analogy between a firm believer and a firm Mubarak tree, a tree which has barakah in it, and that is the tree which is the date palm tree. And also Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he used to love figs and olives and pumpkin. Pumpkin is an amazing fruit. I mean, it has all that fiber in it, and it has a huge amount of vitamin A in it, and it lowers the blood blood pressure of the person who is eating it. It has an impact upon the sleep. The person who struggles to sleep. Pumpkin can help him, and it can help relax him as well. So this is very beneficial. It's even been commented that it can help the sexual performance of a man particularly. It can, in some tests by Wayne State University in America, this was found to be to unblock the prostate blockages for a man, and also it can help the heart. It helps prevent yourself from heart disease or heart failure. So this pumpkin has many benefits, and the point of why I'm trying to mention this is because Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam loved it, and Allah Ta'ala has put special blessing in it. And all the other fruits and foods, if we look at the figs and the olives, likewise, if we look to their benefits, we see that they are a cut above most of the other types of food. So all of these go to show that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam Sunnah is something special, is something beneficial, and all of the words which are recorded in a hadith from Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they are now being borne out by science and by technology to be true. So we ask Allah Ta'ala to benefit us with the knowledge of Deen and to help us upon Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam Sunnah. Whether we benefit medically or not is not the point. We just want to have increased yaqeen. This is why I'm mentioning all of this. Allah Ta'ala grants us one and all. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Jazakumullahu khair to Sheikh Abdullah Hudson. May Allah bless you. And also may Allah grant us all the, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability to keep striving in the path of Allah and follow the beautiful ways of Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Ameen. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Right. Okay. Jazakumullah khair. Sheikh Abdullah, big Jazakumullah khair. I'll inshallah talk to you later. Inshallah.
Okay. I look forward to speaking to you all next week, and may Allah Ta'ala grant you all desire khair. And of course, next week you'll be in Leicester on FM. So we all look forward to that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair to Sheikh Abdullah. Alhamdulillah, that was a beautiful start to our afternoon or evening, I should say. The time just leaving our 5 p.m. We're going to be inshallah taking a short break. If somebody can come into the studio, right, and just 1 second. Assalamu alaikum. Somebody come in the studio, please. Right. Okay. Jazakumullah khair. Right. Okay, we're going to be taking a short break in a short while. Refresh your YouTube if you're watching it on YouTube, etc. Also, if you are listening to us on the apps, etc. We're just taking a short break, so we'll be stopping this stream very, very shortly, and then the Quran show for the kids as well. And Adil Lahe, and also with Usaid Dorat, who is Adil is, I think, 11 years old. Usaid is 8 years old. And Qari Ilyas al-Badr, who will be, inshallah, teaching us some tips for the Holy Quran. Parents are requested to listen. Also, the youth are, requested to listen. Also, the little children. We may just pick up something. We may already know our tajweed, but we may just learn something. This is all about teaching and learning, okay? So keep listening, inshallah. I will be back straight after this.